Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Mash Maker Challenge. Now today I am brewing a cold IPA. Seems to be all the rage lately and everybody is making cold IPAs, so I thought, you know what, I better get on the train before it leaves me behind. But I am going to do it with a little bit of a twist today. Now cold IPAs are not in the Mash Maker book, or at least a recipe for a cold IPA is not in the Mash Maker book. But I am adding a little twist to the cold IPA recipe today. Now, the very first beer that I ever made on the challenge was the Necktat That Says Evil Black IPA. Now, I really enjoyed that beer, and one of the things that it required was cold steeping the Perla Negra malt. So I have that cold steeping right now, and it's just in 1 gallon of cold water, and it's 1 pound of the Perla Negra malt. So you're just basically putting it in cold water and letting it sit for an hour. Now what we're going to do is take out the grains when we're done steeping it, and then that gallon of water will go into the boil once I draw my wort off the mash. So let's talk about the recipe for today. Pretty simple recipe. It's 10 pounds of German Pilsner. I have 3 pounds of flaked maize and half a pound of acidulated malt. And the hops that we will be using for today is Citra and Simcoe. So this is going to be a 60-minute boil, but at 30 minutes we're going to add a ½ ounce of Simcoe, and then once the boil is done, we're going to switch over to Whirlpool. I'm going to cool it down to 180. And we're going to whirlpool 2 ounces of Simcoe for 30 minutes. So that should give us more of the aromatics that we're looking for with this particular beer. It is hoppy, but it's more aromatic because you're putting a lot of the hops in at the end of the boil and also doing some dry hopping. So from what I have read and the research that I have done, this beer is hoppy. It smells very hoppy, but it's once you drink it, it goes down. It's clean and crisp, and I guess it makes you want to drink another one. So that's basically what I'm going for today. This is more like almost like an IPL, but not an IPL. Now the yeast that we're using for today is Imperial Global. Now we are using a lager yeast, but we are fermenting it at a slightly higher temperature. I do believe Global is happiest between 54 and 58, but we will be fermenting probably around 63, 64 degrees, somewhere in there. I'm going to set it for 64 and see what happens with that. And then after you're done fermenting, you're going to kick the temperature up to 70, and then that's when you're going to start doing some dry hopping. So there's 2 ounces of Simcoe and 3 ounces of Citra for dry hops. And you'll let the dry hops sit for 3 to 5 days, and then you're basically going to package the beer after that. Today, I am having a single beer during the brew day. It is Third Space Happy Place. Very good beer. We enjoy Third Space. It's right around the corner from our house, maybe about 10-15 minutes. My wife plays euchre there on Monday nights, so I end up having her come home with some beer most of the time. I'm going to have a little sip of this. You guys break open a beer of your own, sit down on the couch, and enjoy the video. Well, I've mashed in, but I'm a couple degrees off right now, so I'm heating it up a little bit. It's at 148 right now. I need to mash in at 150. Once I get to that point, I'm going to set a 60-minute timer and let it go. Having a fabulous brew day. Just recirculating right now.
Well, it's looking like a hot scotchy to me.
Delicious. The boil has begun, and I added the cold steep liquid from the Perla Negra malt, and this is what you got right here. Quite a bit darker than the first wort that I drew off and had the hot scotchy with. Still sweet, but a little roasty now, so perfect. Exactly what I was hoping for. So we're just about at the end of the whirlpooling process. So I'm gonna shut this down and start transferring the wort over to the carboy. All right, I've got the water running through the plate chiller, and I'm gonna get this set and ready to go and start sending it through.
Okay, so I've been told that you want to draw the wort out of the pot slowly so that you don't disturb the hop cone. And the hop cone is starting to appear. And I'm looking at my wort right now and I'm not seeing any hops coming through. I certainly don't want the hops coming through because that'll get inside my plate chiller and it'll be really hard to clean out.
Hello everybody. Well, the dark cold IPA is ready to drink. So it's been a while, but it smells amazing and I like the color. Almost as dark as a stout, but this is more reminiscent of the Nectat IPA, except for it's a different process than what's in the book. But it does smell amazing. Such a great hop bouquet to it. Oh, it's just pow. I mean, it's just really, really coming through. I like it. All right, we're going to take a drink, see what it tastes like. Oh yeah. So it's got quite a bit of bitterness there, even though none of the hops were really added at all. I think a little bit of hops went in during the boil, but very little, maybe a half ounce or something like that if I remember. And the rest was all whirlpool and dry hop. So I dry hopped for 3 days, raised the temperature of the wort up, or well, I raised the temperature of would have been the beer by then up to 70 degrees. And then I put in the hops and let them sit in there for 3 days. Then I drew out the beer right into the keg and got it carbonated. So I think it turned out great. Now there is some bitterness, but there's also a little bit of roastiness from the Perla Negra malt. So I think this is a success. Yeah, it's very good. Well balanced, I think. Just that little bit of, you know, roasted malt in there, but not too much. But you can definitely taste it once the hops in your mouth go away. Once the flavor of the hops goes away, you're kind of left with just a little bit of that roastiness. So there is definitely some nice malty characters here too. A little bit of biscuit, and then, you know, kind of like almost like toasted Cheerios, like a toasted, yeah, like a toasted Cheerio. If you've ever taken Cheerios, I made some Rice Krispie treats out of Cheerios one time, but we toasted the Cheerios before we put in the marshmallows, and this kind of has that sort of flavor, but not the marshmallow part, just the toastiness part that it reminds me. Toasted cereal. Well, I wish you guys could come over and have some of this with me, but I'll have to brew this again. One of these days I'm going to have a party, get a bunch of people over here so they can enjoy these beers. But definitely, I'm going to make a couple of improvements. I might not put any hops in the boil next time, and I think I'll use just a little bit less of the Perla Negra malt. Maybe instead of a pound, maybe 3/4 of a pound, or maybe a half pound. Maybe there's, you know, just a teeny bit less roastiness would be better, because then it wouldn't interfere with the hops as much. But pretty good nonetheless. It's a good first try. It's there's no off flavors or anything like that, and I think it's pretty well balanced. I just think I can dial it in a little bit more. So cheers, everybody. I'll see you on the next brew day. Oh yeah.